in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me. We'll make a film about a man that's sad and lonely, and all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, I'll bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can't.
Hi, and welcome in.
You sure you want to try this, man?
Yes. I got it. Hi, and welcome in to Meet Me in the Movies. I am Thomas Manning, alongside Noel Thomas Manning II. So Noel here is struggling a little bit with his voice. He's had a bit of a nasty cough lately. He's okay. He's all good, but his voice just isn't quite up to the normal, Noel caliber that he usually is. So I'm gonna have to be carrying part of the show today. I mean, I kind of do anyway, but we are going to be spending this show talking about films for Black History Month. A fantastic year for Black cinema, the 2020, and then stretching into 2021 with a few releases we've had over the past few months. So we're really excited to be discussing this and just shining a spotlight on some of the great artists that we have working today. And so, Noel, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I agree with you, Thomas. It has been such an amazing year, going back to June, especially if you want to look at when I thought things really started to launch, really from a cinema standpoint, some films that we knew we had to think about. And one of those was Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods, and such a magnificent film. It's one of those that I wish that I had seen on the big screen, and many of these I think will carry that same kind of weight. It's a film about family. It's a film about friendships. It's a film about revisiting a past so you can find a way to move forward. And the performances in this were absolutely incredible. Delroy Lindo especially was just spectacular. And he has been getting the love during award season, and we knew he would. We talked about that back in June when this film was released, and it is a film that you can find on Netflix. And I fully expect him to continue, not just to be recognized and nominated, but to win. He's earned it. He's earned it. He's earned it. The 5 Bloods from Spike Lee, a film that is a solid AA rating for me on this. Any thoughts or comments you want to make sure you share on this?
Yeah, well, Spike Lee always has his finger on the pulse of just whatever's going on in the world. He knows exactly what kind of work of art we need at any given moment, and the 5 Bloods kind of represents all of that. Going back and watching it, of course, with the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman a few months ago, going back and watching it with that context now is just all the more impactful, and it's really heartbreaking and gut wrenching, but it's also, tragically beautiful in its own way as well. And just recognizing everything that Chadwick was able to crank out over the course of his far too short life, but what he was able to do and the legacy he's going to leave behind is truly amazing.
Absolutely. And the cinematography from Newton Thomas Siegel, quite impressive as well. And got to talk to him about this film. And it's a film that is actually, it is art on a lot of different levels. We highly recommend Da 5 Bloods right here on Meet Me at the Movies. There's a film that has a debut director. Spike Lee's been around for a long time, but Regina King, we know her from an acting standpoint, but we've never seen her in the director's chair. And here she is with a film that looks at a night that could have happened, one night in Miami. Let me get some of your thoughts on this film that takes place right after Cassius Clay wins the heavyweight boxing title and decides to change his name to Muhammad Ali.
Right. So Regina King, you can definitely tell that as an actress turned director, or excuse me, director. Yes, that's right. I got it right the first time. Actress turned director. That she understands how to. She understands that relationship, which can be difficult to kind of walk that tightrope. But she knows exactly what she's doing because she's been on both sides of it, and you can tell that with this fantastic cast. You have Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm X, who gives a fantastic performance. You also have Eli Gorey as Cassius Clay. Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown and Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, and just all of these guys together in a hotel room, just talking about life and the world and their experience with the struggles they have been the struggles that they're forced to overcome, unfortunately, just because of their existence as as black men, and just seeing those dynamics and their different philosophies, their different perspectives, and over the course of this one night, just talking, um, every single one of them has something different to say and something that's specific to them, and it's a really beautiful thing to just kind of take in.
It really is. And it's one of those films, Thomas, that is very ensemble dialogue driven. And with that, it can be challenging. And this cast was absolutely unbelievable. And you and I have been able to sit in on some of these Q&A interviews with filmmakers, and they had very little time to rehearse this. They had very little time to rehearse this and to get this done. But Leslie Odom Jr., you mentioned him. He plays Sam Cooke, and he delivers an original song that is in that Sam Cooke vein called Speak Now, and it is absolutely incredible. I highly recommend checking out this movie as well, One Night in Miami. It's a solid film, solid acting, and the narrative is just beautiful. And seeing the relationships and the challenges of relationships with these men as well, pretty incredible. And when you think about a female director directing a film about men together for one night, Regina King, she nailed it. She absolutely nailed it. What is your rating for One Night in Miami?
I'm a solid A for that one. Yeah. Also want to mention Kemp Powers. He wrote the screenplay. It was also adapted from the stage play that he wrote, and he was also a screenwriter on Soul, which we'll be talking about later in the show as well. So
Yeah.
great year for Kemp Powers.
I'm right there with you. One Night in Miami, an A rating for me as well, right here on Meet Me at the Movies. This next film is one that is recently released. You and I got a chance to check it out a little bit earlier. Judas and the Black Messiah, which had about 20 different previous names attached to it. Let's get you to dive in and talk about Judas and the Black Messiah. And so many of these films are historical in nature that we're talking about as well. So let's dive into Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, so directed by Shaka King, and only his second feature film that he's ever directed. And this is one of those that just kind of overwhelms you with its just raw power and raw energy. But that's also balanced just as equally with kind of moments of quiet and stillness, and just these family relationships and friendships, and all of that in the middle of a almost like Shakespearean story of betrayal, but it's a very true story based on very true facts, very tragic events. Fred Hampton, his story is just incredible. Everything that he did. 21, he was 21 when he was killed, and just the fact that everything he was able to do within the community, all the movements that he started, and even 50 years later, looking back with this movie, he's just everything he's left behind. It's pretty mind blowing just to think that he did all that. Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton, I think he's probably going to come for that supporting actor nomination. With Keith Stanfield, he continues to be one of the best actors working today. His performance wasn't as bombastic as Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton, because it wasn't meant to be. It was very quiet and just reflective and unassuming. But you can just look at Lakeith in any role he inhabits and know that he is just fully present, fully aware of everything that's going on, and that he just kind of seems like the smartest person in the room wherever he shows up as an actor. And continue to be impressed with Lakeith Stanfield, and just really, really solid film all around. Judas and the Black Messiah.
Absolutely. Shaka King honestly found a way to capture history, this history that surrounded the Black Panther Party, and the FBI infiltrating, and you're right, it really was this Shakespearean type feel for this true story about betrayal and tragedy and rising to power and all that goes along with that. But magnificent film. Shaka King did so much research behind the scenes as well. He also was a co-writer for this screenplay. Ryan Coogler was a producer for this movie. A solid film. It's not getting as much love during award season as I would like to have seen. I think it is absolutely a solid film and one worth checking out, not just during Black History Month, but anytime, especially if you want to look at a snapshot of history. And I will say that if you are looking for an interesting double feature, I don't have this on the list, but I'm going to add it. I would watch this and the Trial of the Chicago 7 back to back. I think they make great companion pieces. They cover some of the same time periods as well. So I would recommend that. What's your rating for Judas and the Black Messiah, Thomas?
Solid A for that one as well.
I'm right there with you. We are finding some great films that we are talking about right here during Black History Month. Judas and the Black Messiah, a solid A rating for me as well. You are watching Meet Me at the Movies. We're going to dive into one more review before we take a break. Kind of keeping on with that track of the FBI. There's a documentary from film director Sam Pollard, and the documentary is based on newly declassified files that were brought out through the Freedom of Information Act. There's restored archive footage and footage that we've never seen before of Martin Luther King and his family. The documentary is called MLK versus FBI, MLK FBI. It shows this government's really extensive targeting of Martin Luther King and so many of his associates during the 1960s. It's a fascinating documentary. Pollard understands documentaries. He's done quite a few in his life. He is an amazing filmmaker on his own. But this is a film that I highly recommend if you're into history, if you like documentaries, and if you're looking for something that you haven't quite seen before. And that's what I thought was fascinating, Thomas, about this is there are dozens and dozens of documentaries about MLK. But I've never seen one quite like this. And so much of that is because of this newly released information and the recordings. And you really get a sense that the FBI, they were scared of the power that King had. And it is fascinating. So I would highly recommend checking that out. Solid A rating as well for the documentary MLK FBI. You are watching Meet Me the Movies right here on C19 TV. We appreciate you guys spending time with us. However you do that, whether that's through TV or whether you're listening to the radio version of the podcast through WG. But we are enjoying our time together, and we hope you're enjoying some of this as well. And we're going to take a quick break right here on Meet Me the Movies. We'll be back with more after the break. Malcolm and Marie, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom Soul, and maybe more. We'll see how much time we have right here on Meet Me at the Movies.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star.
Hi, I'm Jill Nolan, your host for Woman to Woman, a show that is about women and for women. Each month, we feature guests that highlight topics that focus on self-care, health, and well-being, and a variety of other topics for women young and well-seasoned here in Cleveland County. Join us each month on Woman to Woman here at C19 TV, a broadcast service of Cleveland Community College.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bliss Carroll, your host for Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at Cleveland Community College. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other exciting campus news. We'll have a new show for you each month on C19 TV, or you can stream us online at c19.tv. Tune in and connect with Cleveland Community College on Cleveland Connections.
At CCC, we're all about training students for exciting careers. Our Barber Academy is a great example. Did you know jobs for barbers, stylists, and other related fields are increasing? Competition for the best jobs will be strong. With your CCC training, you'll have a definite edge. Our courses give you the skills and knowledge you need to sit for North Carolina's Apprentice Barber exam. To move up the ladder, you need at least 1 year of on-the-job training before you take the state's registered barber exam. If you pass, it's official. You'll be a registered barber. While private barber schools can cost $10,000 or more, CCC makes it affordable. Plus, you can complete our Barber Academy in only 15 months. Now the question is, are you ready to start your journey today?
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big...
Hi, and welcome back into Meet Me in the Movies. Thomas Manning along with Noel Manning. His voice is still hanging in there halfway through the show, so I think we're going to tough it out here, talking about Black History Month and incredible films from Black filmmakers this year. So we're going to moving into Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This was directed by John C. Wolfe, starring Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman, among others, and it was Chadwick Boseman's final on-screen performance. What a year for him in his last year on Earth, just as sad as that is. He may very well end up with 2 Oscar nominations for supporting actor for Da 5 Bloods and best actor for Ma Rainey. And I think this is a performance for the ages, not just because of the context surrounding him, but it was just that good. Just the grief and the anguish and just the immense pain that he is able to put on display and just lay it all out there on the line. It just hit me really hard, and I think it hit everybody the same way that watched it.
I think so too, Thomas. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is a period piece that looks at Chicago in the late 1920s and recording studios and blues musicians and blues singers, and it is a different kind of film. It's not your traditional backdrop musical or full-blown musical. It's there's something a little different about it. Almost has this stage feel to it, and I found that quite fascinating. And Chadwick Boseman, as you said, we talked about him earlier in the show with his performance in Da 5 Bloods, and he was support there. But seeing him on screen as someone who was a ghost from the past was really hard to see.
Yeah.
And then to see this and the level of intensity and rawness that he shared in this role for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was absolutely just astounding. And I'm just so glad that we got a chance to see him. He is definitely an actor. If you look at his body of work, you see that he can portray historical figures. He can portray superheroes. He is someone who could have done anything he wanted to. And I'm just so glad that we got a chance to witness who he was and what he provided to us on screen. Chadwick Boseman was stellar.
Yeah.
This film was stellar as well. I loved the music. I loved the approach to storytelling with this. I also was really drawn to the production design, the hair and makeup, costumes. All of those things really set the stage and put you into this time period. And in order to do something like that well, you've got to find a way to bring those that know what they're doing. And they did that right here in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And Viola Davis just kind of disappears in the role of Ma Rainey. Like you mentioned, the hair and makeup was just phenomenal. Production design, art direction, set decoration, all of that, development of the period piece atmosphere. Very thoroughly impressed with. And also the way they were able to kind of make the heat, the hot Chicago weather, a character in itself.
Yes. Yes.
That just kind of that kind of melted through the screen. You could just kind of feel that when you're watching it. So yeah, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, probably another, let's see, I'll give that A. Yeah, solid A.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. We have seen some amazing films, and we're celebrating some amazing films right here during Black History Month, and a solid A rating for me as well for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. There's a film that was released and shot during the pandemic Malcolm and Marie, and it's a film that does not have a huge ensemble cast, a very small cast for this film. Let's get some of your thoughts on Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah, so it's just Zendaya and John David Washington, just the only two actors in the cast. This was, I believe, it was filmed over the course of like 17 days back in June and July. Directed by Sam Levinson, written and directed by Sam Levinson. Zendaya, John David Washington were producers and heavily involved in the creative process as well. But it's it's the story of this couple who have a lot of problems in their relationship, and just like pretty much every single problem that they've ever had and that you'd ever imagine a couple having just comes full force in this incredible, just mind-blowing argument over the course of one night. It's basically like watching a sword fight for 2 hours, but with words. And it's just very biting, very scathing, and the dialogue, but also the way it's shot and edited, the black and white cinematography is really beautiful. John David Washington and Zendaya deliver on everything that they're given. They're given really difficult tasks to work with, such a brutal script, but they absolutely they knock their roles out of the park. And I was just kind of mesmerized at times watching this movie.
Yeah, watching relationships unfold either in person or on camera, or even listening to relationships unfold with some of the dialogue that we saw here was hard to watch at times, and hard to listen to at times. And I think anytime that you look at who we are and how we interact with others and the choices we make, and how those choices impact others and also impact our future with others, I think that is all on display right here on this very personal film, Malcolm and Marie. And it is difficult, I think, for only one or two actors to carry the load, and that's exactly what happened here in this very unique film, Malcolm and Marie. And you said shot in black and white, beautifully shot in black and white. And I'm so glad that they did that. I think it really, really worked for this film. And where can you find this film, Thomas?
It's on Netflix right now. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And what is your rating for Malcolm and Marie?
We'll say A- for this one, Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah, and I'm with you pretty close. I've got a B+ for Malcolm and Marie for me. Malcolm and Marie, you can check that out. If you're looking for something that may be a little more family friendly, because Malcolm and Marie is not for the young kids, there is a movie called Soul that is on our list of one that is well worth checking out and thinking about. It's a story of this guy named Joe Gardner who lives and breathes for music, and he's always wanted to do something with his gift, and he feels like he's been missing out. He feels like there's more to life that he can be doing with this. And he gets his chance. He gets the opportunity of a lifetime only to have it literally snatched out from under him. And he ends up waking in this kind of nightmare and asking himself what could have been. He felt like he missed his calling because of a wrong misstep, literally. This is a Pixar film called Soul, and I was really, really drawn to this film. And I think it's a film, to me, Thomas, that had humor, it had heart, as so many Pixar films do. And I think there are times in our lives we may find ourselves asking, do I make a difference? Am I making a difference in this world? And have I really done anything that can spread light to others, or that can be seen by others as worthwhile? And I think this movie speaks to those questions and so many more. I think it also speaks to sometimes the calling we think we may have is not the calling we're meant to pursue, or it may not be the calling that we've actually been on following the whole time. Sometimes we lose sight because we're so focused on what we want. It's not necessarily what we need and what others need from us. I love the music in this. I love the way the story was told. I loved the voice talent. I loved everything, absolutely everything about this movie.
Yeah, you mentioned the voice talent. Jamie Foxx is voices our protagonist, and we know Jamie Foxx is one of the greatest actors of his generation. But also his voice talent. He makes that character. He breathes life into that character, and just also a big part of that, the incredible animation and VFX. It's actually Soul is actually on the visual effects shortlist for the Oscars, which very, very rare achievement for animated films, but it's just that good. When you look at how far that Pixar has come with its animation, like comparing this to Toy Story, the original Toy Story, they used like the same character model for each human. Like for Andy and his friends, they use the same character model, but for this, you have different people, of all different shapes and sizes, and different races, and different hairstyles, and it's just the attention to detail is really, really, truly spectacular, and just kind of the development of the New York City jazz scene, all of that is just kind of vibrant and beautiful, and I was just kind of swept away by Soul.
I was too. There was nothing I could find wrong with this film, and not that I would look for anything wrong for it, but it grabbed me and held on from the opening frame all the way to the end. And actually, A+ for me for the movie Soul. What about you, Thomas?
Yeah, another solid A for Soul.
Okay, well, we've got time to wrap things up with one more. Let's look at this film, Night of Kings, that you and I both got a chance to check out. It's a foreign language film, and one that is really engaging on a lot of different levels.
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film for the North Carolina Film Critics Association, and I think it's probably coming for that Oscar nomination as well. But it's really just it's a story about storytelling, and just the potential that storytelling has. Storytelling can literally be the difference between life and death, and that is like portrayed as literally as possible in this movie. And just there's so much just creativity and unique portrayals of I think it was filmed on the Ivory Coast, and it's just from the Ivory Coast production, and just the cultures of those regions are on beautiful display, and it's another one of those that just had a ton of life and spirit. It was also one that has a lot of tragedy in it, and a lot of pain and anguish. But it's just really a unique experience watching Night of Kings, and I'm really glad that we got to see this year.
Yeah, I am too. And it's one of those things when you look at the story of it, it is a story about storytelling, but it happens within a prison. And if you were told to tell the story, you have to tell and fulfill this story for a certain time period, and if not, then you die. I mean, it's a death sentence or a chance to live. And there is a character who really probably doesn't quite belong in this prison, and it's a different kind of prison as well. It's almost like a city of its own that has its own rules. That about an hour and a half long, but I did feel that for me there were a few points that I did feel like it did drag on a little bit. I thought that the pacing was off just a bit in this film, but it didn't take away from production quality, didn't take away from the narrative quality of it. The director and screenwriter was the same person, and didn't take away from the cast as well. I thought all of those technical things worked for this film. I just thought the pacing was off just a little bit. Really appreciate you guys spending time with us always. So glad that we could have this time together, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And until next time, I am Noel Manning for Thomas Manning. Until next time, that is a wrap.